Hey, let's go to the phone and bring in Tom Thayer. You know that name. He was an offensive lineman on the 1985 Super Bowl winning Chicago Bears. He is also the Bears radio commentator, has been for the last 19 years for WBBM in Chicago. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Hey, you know, we've got so many Denver-related people over there now between Cutler and John Fox and Adam Gase and the rest. How's everybody getting along? Let me ask you, let me be more specific. Has John Fox changed the culture at all there? Did it need to be changed? Because, Tom, as you know, when he came in here to be the Broncos head coach, it desperately needed to be changed after Josh McDaniels. Has he done that in Chicago as well?
Yeah, he has, and he is, but it's been a tough recovery, and it surprises me because I've grown up here my whole life, and I've been a Bears fan my whole life, and the fans have supported the Bears, you know, through and through. But I think at the end of last season, the Bears were so angry that they needed to be re-energized somehow. And John has done that. He's come in and he's added a physical development to training camp that has really been more capturing to the fans because that's what they want to see. They want to see a hard-hitting, fast-playing defense that's new here to Chicago because they've never seen really this style of defense. And they need to see Adam Gase breathe some life into Jay Cutler. And it's not relying only on Jay because you got Matt Forte, a solid offensive line, Alshon Jeffrey, you drafted Kevin White. But really, in Chicago right now, you need something positive out of Cutler.
Well, the one thing you brought up, you talked about Adam Gase. John Fox brought in what I consider to be two of the best coordinators in all of football. Would you agree with that assessment, Tom?
Oh, I think that's a great point. And I think that's taken some of the day-to-day grind responsibility off of John Fox where he can sit there and he can watch Adam Gase and Vic Fangio both work their craft. But when you think of what they both have to do, the Bears' defense last year was as bad as you could possibly get, performance-wise and statistically. So he needs to revitalize the belief in the defense here in Chicago. And then, like I said, Adam Gase, he's got to develop and keep a relationship with Jay Cutler that's positive with every game. And, you know, the Bears have a tough start, and even at home opening up against Green Bay. But, you know, when you talk about week 3, 5, 6, and down the road, that's when the relationship has to get better between those two.
Tom, I have a theory. As soon as John Fox was named head coach there, I thought he would do whatever he could to, for lack of a better term, mitigate Jay Cutler, meaning not put him in a position to create so many turnovers. You've got Matt Forte at running back. You've got a pretty good stable of young wide receivers. And John Fox likes to run the ball. What's your take on how John Fox and Adam Gase will use Jay Cutler and will try to make him a more efficient quarterback?
Well, I agree with you completely. If they minimize his overall responsibility to the offense, they can succeed. But the key is when they break the huddle and they get to the line of scrimmage, the offensive line has to be in a power stance where they're going to burst off the line of scrimmage and control the ground game with their strength and their ability and their growth potential with guys like Kyle Long and Slauson at guard, and they brought Will Montgomery over here. So that's got to be the key. The responsibility of the Bears' success moving forward has to be because of the offensive line, Matt Forte. And I tell you, the guy who's had a great camp is Martellus Bennett. And he had some, you know, business disagreements in the offseason, but he's come in here and he's been all business. And he, you know, along with Eddie Royal and Alshon and the guys, Martellus has really been a key element in this year's training camp.
What have you liked? Give us your most invigorating positive that you've seen going out to camp all the time.
Pernell McPhee. They drafted him in the offseason to come in here and kind of be a badass at the outside linebacker position and also make the whole defense feel the same way. And the reason Martellus Bennett has gotten better in training camp is because he's gone so much against Pernell McPhee. And at the beginning, he was tossing the tight ends all over the place and getting in the quarterback's face and chasing ball carriers and hitting them at the line of scrimmage. And that was one of the things that young GM Ryan Pace had to do. When you brought some draft choices in here and some free agents, you needed to hit. So every day that I've been out here, he hasn't asked for a day off. He's been out there working hard, and he really does set a different standard for the linebacker position than they concluded the season with last year. So right now I'll give you Pernell McPhee. And then A1 is going to be, if Antrell Roll can stay healthy at the safety position, it's been such a weakness for the Bears for the last 8 or 9 years that he may be one of the guys that could come in here and help Vic Fangio's front the most.
But you mentioned the Packers in your conversation with us. The Packers are considered 1 or 1A for the Super Bowl. What is realistic in Chicago this year? Is it
Minnesota and Detroit ain't too bad either.
Well, I know, yeah. You're talking about two teams that people are talking about Minnesota Vikings as a surprise pick so much that they're not a sleeper anymore. But, I mean, is the realistic view to be a wild card team, or is it that Chicago Bears can get back to the top of the division? Given that John Fox hasn't lost to a division opponent in like 6 years so far.
Well, if they're the wild card team, then he should get Coach of the Year, because when they concluded the season, they really didn't have a lot of direction and inspiration and the right things being said to him on a day-to-day basis. So if he did do that, because you know, they came out the other day and said they'd be 3-13, and I don't think anybody really believes that, because they do have more ability than just winning 3 games. But because of Aaron Rodgers and Calvin Johnson in Detroit, and you know the emergence of Minnesota, it's going to be difficult for the Bears to have success. But you know, even if they could win their home division games, that would be a major step forward. But I think Vic Fangio has always had success against Aaron Rodgers. And that's going to be interesting to watch week 1, because you're not going to know a lot about the Bears' defense until then.
Yeah, Tom, outside of Pernell McPhee, the only guy on the defensive side of the ball you've mentioned a number of times is Fangio. Look, they have not been a good defense. They haven't exactly been the monsters of the Midway the last decade. Is Fangio the most important guy on the defensive side of the ball? Can he do something with that unit that really, sorry to say, is lacking talent this year?
Yeah, but you know what? He's going to have to make aggressive, correct decisions in personnel. You know, the last couple of years, Shea McClellan, a first-round draft choice from a couple of years ago, has been playing completely out of position. Now, if he can turn Shea into a tackling machine, and then all of a sudden you're going to see what Vic Fangio is famous for. Because when you look at Shea McClellan and you look at a guy like Jonathan Bostic, and you look at what they're trying to do with Sam Acho and Jared Allen, it is a reclamation process for in some respects, but I think everybody is motivated by fear of losing their job. And if they don't play up the standards that are going to make this team better, they're not going to play. So I think that's the key element here to improvement, because they have guys that you don't know much about, Christian Jones, David Bass, that are going to get an opportunity to play in this defense, and they might finally, you know, find a place that, you know, they can succeed. And then you have guys like Lamar Houston, who was injured last year, and Willie Young coming off of an Achilles surgery, that they don't even know what they have there. So, I mean, it's a mixed bag that Vic Fangio is going to have to figure out and see if he can come to a successful group of linebackers.
Tom, really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you hopefully during the season, all right?
Oh, we're going to see you, Tom, in November.
Like November 11th, something like that, yeah.
That's the biggest ticket in Chicago. I mean, that's going to be a big ticket here because of, like you said, the commonality with everybody and what could happen at that time of the year.
Yeah, well, save us a couple seats in the press box.
Plus, we want to see if this group can get to Cutler any better than the last people.
Hey, that's the key question here.
Yeah. Tom, thanks. We'll talk to you.
Me, guys.
Yeah. Tom Thayer, he does the radio broadcast for the Chicago Bears.
I'm trying to think of when Peyton last appeared in Chicago. That's going to be a big ticket, too, item.
Played him in a Super Bowl. That segment sponsored by John Elway Chevrolet, Colorado's #1 Chevy dealer.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.